Hey folks, good Monday to you all. I hope you're having a great day. Welcome to week 4. You've already completed 3 weeks, which is amazing, and congratulations. And we're moving through the course. It's been just great seeing you all, and just keep up the good work. So far, since we've been working, we've talked about just business in general. We've talked about management, business ownership. You've heard from Chenard and Mackie, and we've talked about LinkedIn as a tool for finding jobs and connecting with people. And so this week, really, we start to get into topics that to me are just more relevant and more specific to business. And so we start with, as we've talked about in other videos, the resources that we utilize. We utilize capital resources, financial resources, information resources, and human resources. And that's where we're going to start our conversation this week, is about human resources, how we attract and retain the best employees who are dedicated to our vision. And so this week you're going to watch a video on Apple. I want you to really pay close attention to that video, because we're going to discuss it a little bit either Wednesday or next week in our live session. And there's another video coming up that deals with what truly motivates people. And so we're going to compare and contrast those two videos. And so just be aware of it. It's all about, again, attracting and retaining talent. So Chapter 9, here we go. And let's see here. Learning objectives. So this week we're going to describe the major components of HR management. We're going to identify the steps in the human HR planning, describe cultural diversity, and understand some of the challenges and opportunities associated with it. We're going to explain the objectives and uses of job analysis. We're going to talk about recruiting and employee selection. About the elements of employee compensation and benefit plans. We're going to explain the purpose and techniques of employee training and development, discuss performance appraisal, and then outline major legislation affecting human resource management. So first of all, HR management and an overview. HR, or human resources, that's the people. So again, we have those 4 resources that we discuss. We talk about capital, information, financial, and then HR. So human resources, the people who work within an organization. This is a very, specific statement, but according to this book, they are the most important and valuable resources of any business. I personally would have to agree with that. You can have all the money in the world. You can have all the information in the world. You can have all the capital in the world. If you don't have the right people on the right bus, in the right seat on that bus, you're just not going to do well. You're going to fail. And so I personally believe that that the people that you hire, retain, and develop are the most important resource you can possibly have. Okay? And so I would personally agree with this. I want you to think about that, though. Do you agree? Does it depend on the industry or the company? Okay, I want you to think about that. Okay, HR management, those are all the activities involved in acquiring, maintaining, and developing an organization's human resources. So when we get to the Chipotle case, one of the questions I'm going to ask you is, how does Chipotle hire, develop, and retain their key employees or their employees? And so I want you to think about these activities. We're going to talk about these activities, okay? So first of all, HR activities. Basically, it's the acquisition included planning and the various activities that lead to hiring new people, right? HR is all about, initially, how do we acquire the right people, okay? And then we'll talk about getting them on the right bus and in the right seat in the bus. Altogether, the planning phase of HR includes 5 separate activities. Determine staffing needs and supplies, right? We'll come back when we talked about management. What are those management? What's that process, right? We're planning, okay? And then our job analysis, determining the exact nature of the roles. We have to identify those roles. that need to be filled. What do those roles look like? What are the key responsibilities? What are the key skills we're looking for? Okay. So first we have to determine our staffing needs and supply. So are we in a good market? Are there very few people out there to hire? Or are we in a bad market? There's a lot of people out there to hire. Okay. HR is all about supply and demand. Okay. And you have to understand that. And you have to plan for that in the future. Okay. Quarter by quarter basis, year over year basis. What are our needs and what's the supply going to look like? Okay. Then we go back to job analysis. Recruiting. How are we going to recruit? Are we going to recruit online? Are we going to offer incentives to employees to refer people? Okay. Are we going to go to job fairs? And then selecting. What's the criteria we're going to look for to select this person, and how are we going to select them? Okay. What type of interview are we going to put this person through? What type of references are we looking for? Are we going to make them do any assessments before coming on board or before making that decision? And then orienting, making sure that when they step in their job for the first day, they understand what the expectations are. They understand what the resources they have at their disposal. They understand the culture of the company. They understand their place in the culture. Okay. Orienting is a huge piece of HR activities. Okay. So maintaining HR consists primarily of encouraging employees to remain with the firm and to work effectively by using a variety of HR programs. Okay, so it cost on average a company, and goes back a couple of years, so I would assume it's probably more now, but it was at one point about $50,000 just to hire one person, and that includes hiring, that includes training, that includes salary. $50,000 to hire one person. If you hire that person and they're the wrong person and you can't get that person to stay, or you're the wrong company for that person and they're gone, you just lost $50,000. How many times can you go through that and stay relevant as a company, or even stay in business? Okay. So what are the programs, right? Employee relations. Do we care about, right? If you think about when you think about employee relations, think about Chenard, think about Mackey. Those two crush this. They know exactly how to treat their employees. They know exactly how to talk to their employees. They know exactly what type of autonomy or how much autonomy to give employees. Compensation. Again, this is a tricky one because for many people, compensation, the actual dollar values, that's not the most important thing. And you'll see in an upcoming video that there are other factors in retaining people that are more important than just money. We'll talk later on that, but there's things like autonomy, right? Being able to work like you, how you best work. Mastery, being able to master new skills. Okay, those are all things, and we'll talk about the Gallup Q12 survey and the questions that they ask. And compensation is way down on the list. Okay. But it's important still. I think in the video they say you need to pay people enough to take money out of the picture. So to make money not even a topic, you need to pay people enough. Okay? And what does that look like? And then benefits, right? What are the benefits? For a lot of people, because of mastery is such a key thing that people are looking at, maybe it's tuition remission, right? Maybe it's training. So there's so many benefits. Healthcare, again, work-life balance. So a lot of people want PTO as opposed to, let me choose how I'm going to take the day off. If I've got sick leave, then I can only use that for sick leave. If I've got vacation, I can only use that for vacation. But if you combine those as PTO, just personal time off, I never get sick. So I got a lot of sick hours. I want to be able to use that time for vacation if possible. So those are all the things that you'll see. And when you are looking for a job and you are getting ready to accept a job, these are two things that you're probably going to be most interested in: compensation and benefits, and how you can increase those. Again, more activities. The development phase of HR is concerned with improving employee skills and expanding their capabilities. The two important activities of this phase are training and development. So making sure people understand their role and that they can do their role. And if they can't, how do you get them there? You'd be surprised how many people hire, how many hiring managers hire just based solely on culture. I can teach you to do whatever I want you to do. I'm hiring you because I want to spend time with you. My staff wants to spend time with you. You know, we like you. We want to go to happy hour with you. Okay. We want to go, get you into our, softball league or our kickball league. We want you because you're a culture fit. Whatever else, I'll teach you how to do. Right? I'm going to have to train you anyway. So most hiring is done based on, unless you have one specific skill set they're looking for, most hiring is based on just a culture fit. So the training and development is important. Okay. And then performance appraisal. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And again, when you talk to Marcus Buckingham, when you hear Marcus Buckingham talk, he talks about performance appraisal as 52 sprints, right? You should be having weekly conversations with your staff. And we talked about this in management. 52 conversations. Most companies, either do it every year and they say, hey, here's what you did right, here's what you did wrong, do better, keep doing what you're doing right, don't do what you did wrong. And they'll tell you that everywhere. Here's 3% increase in your salary. Good managers, they'll maybe do it on a quarterly basis, and they'll say, hey, here are the goals you were supposed to hit. Here, here's what you did do well. Here's what you did do wrong. And so once a quarter, you get a performance appraisal. The great managers do quarterly and yearly, but they also do weekly check-ins. Hey, what are your priorities this week, and how can I assist you? How can I be a resource to you, right? What are you working on this week? What's important to you? How's your family doing? There's the CEO of Scripps Green. He walks around the hospital every day. He takes an hour to walk around the hospital to do his performance appraisals. Every day he'll walk around for an hour and he'll just say, hey, how are you doing? He's not checking to see what, if the custodians are mopping the floor well. He's not checking to see if the doctors are operating well or the nurses are doing what they do well. No, he's walking around checking in on people. As individuals, as people, how are you doing? How's your family? What can I do to support you this week? Okay? Those are real performance appraisals. And then you do your quarterly. Hey, we did have these goals. We need you to hit these goals. What can I do to support you? How can I support you and give you more resources to achieve these goals? And if for some reason they're just not achieving their goals and you've done everything you can as a manager, as a leader, well, then maybe it's time to move that person out. Maybe they aren't the right fit. And then you look back and see, okay, did I make a right hire? And then you reflect back on your hire and your hiring process and then determine if you need to change that. Okay? Forecasting, right? Planners should base HR demand forecasts on all relevant information available, right? What's the economy looking like? Or do we have a special project coming up? Are we downsizing? Is COVID coming? You couldn't really plan for this one. But, you have to be able to see in the future and understand what's going to affect the supply and the demand of the people that we're potentially going to look at, okay? Technology advances are creating new opportunities, right? So you can look at LinkedIn, you can use, different Workday has some great planning tools that you can use in HR. But it's basically understanding, forecasting, and planning for your demand, right? How many people am I going to need this year? How many people am I going to need this week, this quarter? Do I need to supplement that with temporary staffing? Am I doing a system implementation? Do I need to keep the ship running while these people implement this new SAP software? And so to do that, maybe I'm going to bring in a few temporary accountants to come in and close the books for me. All sorts of things that you need to understand. This is what I did for 20 years. Okay. One of my favorite parts of the jobs was understanding not just mine, but my clients' needs, right? Year over year, quarter over quarter, month over month. The first question I would ask a company is, what are your hiring needs? What do you see going on in the next month, in the next quarter, in the next year? And how can I be a resource to you? Okay. So HR managers use forecasting information to determine both the number of employees required and the qualifications needed. Okay. So a forecast of HR supply must take into account both the present workforce and changes that may occur within it. So two useful techniques for forecasting are a replacement chart and a skills inventory. A replacement chart is a list of key personnel and their replacements. So what you're doing is you're planning what we used to call succession planning. Okay, I've got this person who is a key employee. If they walk out the door today, who's their replacement? Do I have somebody within the household? Do I have somebody within the company? Or do I need to go out and get somebody? That's why it's so important for HR people to be well connected within LinkedIn. Because if I don't have somebody to replace them in-house, I need to go out and find them. And I can just jump right into LinkedIn. And I've been networking with those people. That's part of my job as an HR professional, is to network with people on LinkedIn and just to network with people in general. Okay, so replacement chart. Who are the key employees that I can't afford to lose? And if for some reason I do, how am I going to replace them? And then a skills inventory is a database of current employee skills. Okay, who are the people? If I need somebody to do extensive pivot table work, or they're doing sales analysis, or they're doing mergers and acquisitions, who are the other people within the company with that database that have those similar skills that I potentially could plug that hole with if I needed to? Okay. I really want you all to think. I'm hoping every year I always get at least 2 or 3 students who never even thought about going into human resources come to me and say, tell me more. I would love to get into HR. It is an amazing career, and it can be very profitable as well. Okay, and very rewarding. You're helping people, and you're helping the company, again, hire, retain, and develop the most important resource. Okay. Matching supply with demand. When demand is predicted to be greater than supply, HR planners must make plans to recruit new employees, right? So demand is predicted to be greater. I need more people than are out there. This is when we're at that top, right, that plateau of the cycle, business cycle. There's nobody out there. We're at 2% unemployment, and I need to hire. What do I do? How do I go find those people? Okay, and then at the bottom, when the supply of employees is predicted to be greater than the demand, now what do we do? Right? We need to look at our workforce. Do we need to lay off? Do we need to furlough? Do we need to cut back hours? A lot of things that potentially could take place, right? So these are things that you have to be aware of as an HR, just as a manager in general. Okay. Again, cultural diversity in HR is so important. Cultural diversity particularly, but also just diversity in general. There's diversity of thought, diversity of skills. You have to have people who you can't work in a homogenous, department. People need to have different ideas, and cultural diversity, should be first and foremost when you're thinking about hiring. So our workforce is diverse, bringing in wide variety of beliefs, expectations, behavioral norms, and you need to mold these people into your culture. You need to bring them into your culture, fit them into your culture, but also look at how they potentially could enhance the culture. Okay, and then culture, diversity, differences among people in the workforce, owing to race, ethnicity, and gender. Okay, super important. We need to be a more diverse workforce. It just makes us more effective. Okay, it makes us more effective. And then although cultural diversity presents a challenge, managers should view it as an opportunity rather than a limitation. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. We need to be looking at how do we hire for a more diverse workforce. It's critical. It's more critical as the landscape of our state of California, or our county of San Diego, or our country. We are becoming a more diverse country, and a more diverse state, and a more diverse city. And so we need to understand that we need to hire according to that. Okay, and so that means, again, we can hire based on just, hey, are you a culture fit? Do you fit with what we're looking for as an employee? And then I can train somebody. Okay. Job analysis. This is a systematic procedure for studying jobs to determine their various elements and requirements. Okay. Recruiting. The process of attracting qualified job applicants. Recruiters may seek applicants outside the firm, within the firm, or both. our external recruiting, basically attracting job applicants from outside an organization, as part of your final presentation, you're going to go and look for jobs at the specific companies that you selected to analyze. And so you're going to look at, what are they doing? What types of resources are they using? Are they using LinkedIn? Are they using ZipRecruiter? Are they using Handshake? Are they using their own company's website? Are they using employee referrals? Nobody posts in newspapers anymore, so that's kind of old. But activities on college campuses. Okay, soliciting recommendations from current employees. Yeah, we don't post in newspapers anymore. I'll never forget my first job out of college. I would look through the Orange County Register for a job. I found my first job through a job posting on a newspaper, and I faxed my resume. People don't even know what a fax is, but I faxed my resume to them. But yeah, we'd look through there and see if there were any companies that we could potentially help fulfill any needs. Okay, and then online. Advantages, disadvantages. So I'm going to go back. So advantage for outside the organization, basically we're looking at, advantages would be, again, you're bringing in new blood, you're bringing in new ideas, you're potentially bringing in different skill sets. Disadvantages, it could be, I have to train somebody. Are they going to be a culture fit? You could interview well, but once you get in the job, can you do the job? There's a old saying out there talking about, you don't know you're going to be an effective NFL quarterback until you take your first snap. You can do all the stuff right, and do, look good in the combine, but until you get behind center, Ryan Leaf is a perfect example. Most of you are too young to know about Ryan Leaf, but he looked like the perfect prototypical NFL quarterback until he got behind center for the San Diego Chargers and he bombed. And so, same thing. People can interview well. People can say all the right things. You could say all the right things as an employee. But until you sit in that desk and do the job, we have no idea if you can do it. Okay? But if I have somebody internally who I've seen work over the years and I want to promote that person into a role, I have a better sense as to what they can do. Internal recruiting, again, considering present employees as applicants. Advantages. Some advantages, again, are I know this person. I know they're going to be a fit. I know they're a cultural fit. I'm sure they can do the job because I've seen them do the job. Disadvantages, again, I potentially miss the opportunity to bring in new blood. I miss the opportunity to potentially, bring in a new skill set or bring in a more diverse applicant. And so these are the things we have to weigh when we're hiring. That's why hiring is so critical. It's not only if you hire the right person, it's definitely more cost effective, but if you hire the wrong person, it can be devastating to your organization. Okay? That's why you have to take such care in it. The selection process. So this is the process where you actually wind up hiring the person. You're going to go through application, interviews, behavior-based interviews. Those basically sound like, tell me about a time when. Okay, so tell me about a time when you had to work in a team. What was the project? What was your role in that project? What was the end result? Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult customer. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a difficult manager. Tell me about a time you failed. Tell me about a time you succeeded. All these questions are meant for you to be able to tell stories. So past performance equates to future performance. And so if you tell me a good story and I believe that story and it's an effective story, I can visualize you doing that same thing within this organization. So if it's about, overcoming failure or overcoming change, and I've got some change coming out, you tell me the right story, I'm going to hire you because I'm like, okay, that person, we've got some change coming up and that person can deal with that. Okay. So those are behavioral based interview questions. References. One of the things I always tell people, anybody I talk to, make sure your references, one, they're good references. You'd be surprised how many times somebody sent me a reference and it wasn't a very good reference. And I called the person, they're like, I'm not sure why they used me for a reference. I'm like, I don't know. That's just, you're the number I got. But also let the reference know, hey, this company will be calling you because they're checking my references. Assessment centers, right? It could be they're going to have you do, I don't know, the love languages. I don't know, some assessment. Okay, and then social networking sites. So what I mean by that is when I talk about social networking sites here, it's all about make sure. I always say this is difficult to talk about, but I always say if your grandma isn't going to approve what's on your Facebook, you all don't use Facebook, never mind. If your grandma's not going to approve what's on your TikTok or your Instagram or your Twitter account, then take it off. Or you can always make it private. You should make all your social media private, because even though it's against the law in the state of California for companies to make hiring decisions based on your social media presence, they do. They just basically tell you they didn't hire you for another reason. So be aware of that. And we can talk about this more as we talk this week live. But be aware of what's on your social media sites. Types of compensation, hourly wage, salary, commission, incentive pay, lump sum, salary increase, profit sharing. We'll get to all this later on. And then benefits, lots of employee benefits, pay time off for work, insurance packages, pension and retirement, unemployment insurance, Social Security, workers' comp. These are all kind of the basic ones, but there's a lot of other ones. There's flex spending accounts. There's, again, tuition remission. There is, 410. So you only work, every other Friday you get off, right? So you get off every other Friday. There's, remote working like we're doing now, but during normal times you telecommute. And so there's we're going to discuss, I think this week or last week we discussed it. This week we're going to discuss Yvonne Chenard and Patagonia's HR philosophy. They have an amazing benefits package, right? They've actually got a school for your kids there, and they learn amazing things, okay? And so, And so we'll talk a little bit more about benefits. Training and development, employee training, that's the process of teaching operations and technical employees how to do their present jobs more effectively. And then there's management development, the process of preparing managers and other professionals to assume increased responsibility. Just because you do something well doesn't mean that you can manage somebody doing that same thing. Okay, they call it the Peter principle. Okay, that's when you get promoted for doing so well in your current role. As a salesperson, they promote you to sales manager, but you're a lousy manager. You don't have the skill set or the training to be a manager. And so what this hopefully does, this management development, it helps you become a better leader. I didn't have this. I am the example of the Peter principle. I was an amazing recruiter. I was an amazing HR professional, amazing sales professional. And so they said, well, you must be good at managing. And they just threw me into it, gave me one of the largest branches. I made it profitable, but at the expense of probably doing harm to most of my staff. And so, if just because you do well doesn't mean you manage well. And so this management development should help. And it should be leadership development, not management development. And then performance appraisal. We talked a little bit about this. The evaluation of employees' current potential levels of performance. Again, it should be you should have weekly one-on-one check-ins with your staff, quarterly check-ins about their goals, and then yearly reviews. Okay? And what that looks like is the process has 3 main objectives. Lets workers know how they're doing. Distributing rewards such as promotions or raises, and then monitor the progress of employees. How are they selecting the right people? So are people hitting their goals? Are people doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they reaching their milestones? And if so, then we made the right choice. If not, maybe we didn't. I think though this does a disservice to Buckingham when he talks about, those weekly check-ins where you just say, hey, what's a priority to you? What are you working on this week? And not, did you get it done? But how can I be a resource to you? How can I support you in that? Okay? And here's the other thing. I had one of my favorite managers, leaders tell me, you should never be surprised when you get fired. And as a manager, you should never be surprised when somebody quits. Right? Does that make sense? So if all of a sudden I fire you and you're like, why did I get fired? That should never happen. You should know going into that firing or that layoff or whatever that, okay, I haven't been hitting my goals. I haven't been doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And somebody has told me that. And as a manager, if I'm not talking to my employees, they're going to quit on me, and I'm going to be, I had this happen. Somebody walks in my office who was doing amazing. They were crushing it. And he walks into my office and he says, hey, I wanted to come in and give you my 2-week notice. I was like, what? What happened? I found a better job. I had no idea this person was looking. I had no idea this person was not content with what they were doing. And so you should never be surprised. And that's why if you do these performance appraisals, not just yearly, not just quarterly, but on a weekly basis, you do those check-ins, things are going to go a lot more smoothly and you're not going to be surprised. A couple more here. So common evaluation techniques are objective methods. Objective appraisals use some measurable quantity. Did you hit your numbers? Did you hit your calls? Did you hit your meetings? Right? Are you within budget? Okay, it's objective. And then judgmental methods. Judgmental appraisal methods require the manager judge or estimate the employee's performance level. I don't really care for those. They're based on employee ranking or rating scales. I probably wouldn't use those, but I want to make sure you're aware of them. And that's it. Again, to me, this is, when we talk about the 4 resources, capital, information, financial, and human resources, I really would agree with the book when they state that this is the most important. Again, you can have all the money in the world. You can have all the information in the world. If you hire the wrong people, you're doomed. Your company is doomed for failure. Your department is doomed for failure. Because again, if you have a vision for where you're looking to go and you don't hire the people who believe in that vision, and then like Duarte and Sanchez said, that you can, be that torchbearer to take them to where that vision's going. If you don't have the right people following you, again, we always say you can't just have the right people on the bus, you have to have them in the right seat. So put the right people doing the right job in the right position, and then, you'll be a lot more successful. This really is one of the most important things that you're going to learn. And again, this is why every year I have 2 or 3 people that come up to me and say, hey, I've never thought about HR as a career. Can we talk more about that? So I love it. Again, happy Monday. We will see you live on Wednesday. We're going to talk about Chenard and Patagonia's HR philosophy, and you'll see that's a company you want to work for or not. It depends on what you really want in a company. But then you'll look at that Apple video, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Wonderful. You all I appreciate you all so much. You have a wonderful day, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.